Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps and you're watching True School Sports.
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is one of those prospect review videos, and I like doing these. I don't do them too often because I like doing these on prospects that I like. So I don't do them every prospect, but I do this on prospects that interest me or that I like, or maybe that are from my area that I feel that you guys should know about. So today's video, today's prospect review will be about a super bantamweight prospect from South Florida, one of South Florida's very own, and in my humble opinion, he might even be the most talented fighter in South Florida, period, and active in boxing. I mean, I think he's very underrated. I think he's got the potential to do some special things in boxing. But that guy is Lawrence Newton. Lawrence BT Newton. Yes, BT is his nickname. So from one BT to another BT, I'm going to be talking about him today. And just so you know, the BT in his nickname stands for Big Time. So Lawrence, Big Time, Newton, Lawrence, BT Newton. His record, 13-0, 7 KOs. So he's done all right for himself so far in the professional ranks of boxing. He's trained by his father, Lawrence Newton Sr., and Derek Santos over there at the Boca Raton Pal. And yeah, so just some quick tidbits and notes and things you should know about Lawrence BT Newton. Now, Lawrence Newton was a very well-decorated amateur. His record in the amateurs consists of 298 wins and only 35 losses. Now, let me repeat that again. He was 298 and 35 as amateur. So obviously, the pedigree is deep. The pedigree is there, you know. And he's only 23 years old. So being so young, so well schooled, he's been boxing since he was 10 years old, I believe. 10 years old. So he's got a lot of skin in the game as far as his amateur pedigree is concerned. And then yeah, in the amateurs, he was telling me in one of my interviews, and you know, you can go watch it here. You know, in the amateurs, he had a big amateur rivalry with lightweight contender, maybe world champion by the time you see this video, Teofimo Lopez. They fought many times in the amateurs. He has a couple of victories over Teofimo Lopez in the amateurs, according to him. But they had a rivalry, so you know, the fact that he was able to perform that well against Teofimo in the amateurs shows you where he was as an amateur. Because listen, I was training in boxing. Like I was doing my boxing training in, you know, regularly every day in like 2016, 2015. I had a little bit of a spell in 2018. But anyway, when I first started boxing, I remember hearing about Teofimo Lopez all the time in every gym I went to in South Florida. Every gym I went to in South Florida, particularly Canino's boxing gym, which is where I trained. So for him to do as well as he did against Teofimo Lopez in the amateurs, that shows you the kind of, you know, amateur he was. Now, as far as in the pros, some facts about him in the pros. Lawrence Newton, he was in training camp with Terence Crawford. He posted a picture with Terence Crawford back in April because he fought on the Terence Crawford Amir Khan undercard. He looks a lot like Terence Crawford, and he actually fights a lot like him. I think there's a lot of similarities between him and Terence Crawford. I would even go as far as to say that he's not too far from being a mini Terence Crawford himself. He's someone that's very good at controlling the range. Yeah, Lawrence Newton reminds me a lot of Terence Crawford because of how he's able to control the ring, control his opponents, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to apply as he steps up in competition. Now, so yeah, he was in camp with Crawford. He might have sparred him, but I don't have any evidence to confirm that, so I'd have to ask him. But he was in camp with him. He also is a fighter that trains fighters himself, so he can actually train fighters. He trains fighters himself at the Delray Beach Boxing Club. So if you want to know just a little bit more about Lawrence Newton, you can go to Delray Beach Boxing Club and you can actually get training lessons from him, as he is a trainer there. So to be a guy who trains fighters, you know, you got to have a boxing mind for that. So it shows you that his IQ is high. And he's also sparred with another South Florida prospect who I rate, who is Antonio Bang Williams. They've sparred at one particular time. So those are some facts about Lawrence Newton. As far as his fighting style, I would classify him as a boxer puncher with more of an emphasis on the boxer than the puncher. You know, I would say he's like, you know, 80% boxer, 20% puncher. He can punch. His punching power is respectable. But I would say that his boxing skills, his footwork, the way he commands distance, the way he commands range, the way he's able to time fighters, the way he's able to just manipulate his opponents to get them to do what he wants and beat them. These are the best qualities that Lawrence Newton has. And truthfully speaking, I feel like if Lawrence Newton is to put it together, how good could he be in the sport of boxing. How good could Lawrence Newman be when he gets to the top level of boxing? Truthfully, I think he could be a world champion. I have no problem saying that this kid has world championship potential because of his smarts, because of his skills, because of his dedication to the sport. And the fact that he's able, from what I've seen, in a couple of fights I've seen him, that he's able to beat fighters with his brains. You know, a lot of times fighters beat each other. These fighters beat each other with their power or their speed, but he beats you with his smarts. You know, and he uses that more than anything. So a fighter like that, a guy like that, is someone that's going to go farther and last longer in boxing than someone that just uses brute strength or whatever like that. So yeah, I think he could be world champion. You know, he hasn't really stepped up yet, but you know, he's someone that when I look at him, you know, I think of the active fighters in South Florida. Right now, the best fighter that's from South Florida, and I know Teofimo Lopez isn't technically from South Florida, but he is from South Florida because his boxing legacy, his training, his whole career as amateur was spent in South Florida. So he's a South Florida fighter. I think he has a chance to be better than Teofimo Lopez, or just as good. And that's saying a lot because Teofimo Lopez has a chance to become world champ this week if he beats Richard Commey. Teofimo Lopez has had some sensational performances. Lawrence Newman, I don't think is going to have those kind of like wow factor performances because that's just not his style. But if you're someone who's into the tactical side of boxing, who's into the subtleties of boxing, controlling fighters, ring generalship, these things, the pure elements of boxing, you'll like Lawrence Newman. So yeah, Lawrence Newman, I think could be world champ. To me, he reminds me of like a mini Terence Crawford. He looks like Terence Crawford. His demeanor is similar to Terence Crawford. They look like each other. He fights a bit like him, but that's a compliment. You know, if you want to fight like somebody, you know, you want to be compared to somebody who's arguably the pound for pound king of boxing in Terence Crawford. So I'm looking for big things from Lawrence Newman, a guy that I think is the most talented fighter in South Florida. Straight up, I think he's the most talented fighter in South Florida. So that's my opinion on him. If any of you guys out there have watched Lawrence Newman fight, or I missed anything about him, let me know in the comments, and yeah, take time to subscribe. Like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just tell the truth. That's right. What do you say? Take care, guys.
Hey, this is Adrian Granados, and you're watching True School Sports.